Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Getting Set Up for Airbrushing. Here's some of the topics we're going to be talking about in today's video. Right, the first one that I want to sort of talk about is your workspace. Whereabouts are you going to paint? Because you've got to think of this first and foremost. It's really easy just to go hit and buy a kit on Amazon and then you think, where can I paint? So my experience is in painting in certain places. We've got the purpose-built studio, as you can see. This is like the main place now where I'll paint. But I started out in the box room in the house, the spare box room. The benefits of doing it in your house is it's the cheapest option to set up in. It really is, because you've got your heating for one. So you're permanently warm, the house is nice and warm and your room that you're spraying is nice and warm. The basic thing, the only thing you'll need is a table, an extractor, an airbrush kit, and you're good to go. You're sort of set up. It's the cheapest way of doing it. And I found that was a really nice place to paint at the time. The time that I could paint there at the time was really cool because it's nice and warm and you've got the light in. As you walk through the door, you just click the light on and you sort of set up. So working from a room in your house is really good. Just set your extractor up. So it's a tabletop one like this. We're going to talk a little bit more about extraction in a minute, but tabletop one like this on the table and then vent it out the window. Job done. You can get rid of the paint fumes. So workplace, if you're moving outside of your house and you've got a garage to the side of the house, benefits of that are you're more than likely got your lighting in there already and you've got your power supply because it's coming direct from the house into the garage that's built to the side of it. The downsides of garages are they're brick, they're very rarely insulated. It's usually either a single brick or a two skin wall brick and it's not got any insulation in. And you've probably got an up and over garage door which is like a big metal thin 6 foot square panel that flips open up and down, and it's just got like loads of air gaps around it. So you've got to start thinking about insulating, probably paneling the garage off so you have a section of the garage to yourself and it's all panelled in insulation. So this is where the cost starts to creep up. Insulating, flooring, extraction, putting all these pieces in, extra lighting, you've got to start thinking of that. Same applies to if you're moving into a shed or you're building a studio. You really got to work out your costs on buying a shed, certain size shed, then you've got the insulation of it, you've got to get the power from the house, so you're looking at armour cable from the house, up the garden into a fuse box, then you do all the spurs for the sockets, the lighting, and the cost can start to creep up depending on what size studio build you want and what you want to paint. Again, it goes down to if you're just doing sort of easel painting like this, and you're permanently working on paper, it's sort of a cheaper way of going. If you start doing solvents and you want to start doing clear coating, you've got to get a bigger premises, better heating, better extraction, and it just sort of adds up. So have a good think about what style of airbrush you want to go down and where you want to paint your workspace. The next one is extraction. We'll go over extraction. Now, cheap ones are your tabletop, but can work out expensive. I'll tell you a cheaper option you can do. You can get the tabletop ones like this. They work really well. So if you're a miniature painter, a lot of the miniature painters use these where you've got the turntable that you can sit in front of it and you can turn it around and you can spray. You put the hose out of a window or out the door or cut a hole in the side of your shed and just poke the 4-inch ducting out and you're good to go. That's a cheap sort of setup. If you want to go cheaper and make your own, if you get a cooker hood extractor that sits above your cooker and then turn it so it's like a tabletop, I'm going to show you how you make one of these on the channel. We'll do one on the channel, but you can use cooker hoods turned over on the side, just slightly panel the sides off. They've usually got built-in lights on them so you can take a spur off the light and put an overhead light on it, and you can do the same again. You can plug it in on a 3-pin plug and run the extractor out the door or window or drill a hole and put the 4-inch ducting out the wall. You can do it that way. Cooker hood extractors on Marketplace, you can get from anything from like £10 up to £50. So it's a very cheap option instead of spending like the £150, £160 full-on airbrush spray brief. You can make your own. So that is an option. If you're going down the route of like custom painting, where you've sort of mastered the airbrushing and you're going to start clear coating and base coating and doing your primers and your fillers in a room like you've seen me doing here, you're going to need a bigger extractor, something like this that's got a big ducting tube on it. So you can place this in your studio, run the ducting out the same out the door or the window, or cut a bigger hole out the side of the studio and run the ducting out. So you've got a better pull of air, so you can draw as much air in and get your fumes away. So you can use them, but they do come at a price, guys, these sorts of extractors. You get the 8-inch sort of one, the 10, the 12, the 16, and the prices go up as you go for the bigger size fan. So you've got to look into account your extraction and things like that. Workplace, where you're going to do it, extraction and setting up. The next thing you're going to look at is sort of your setup. What sort of style of airbrushing are you going down? Are you going down the miniature model painting route? Do you need just a small compressor setup, cheaper brush where you're not going to be using the brush all the time just for miniatures? You can be using it for just putting a little bit of base coat, primer down, highlights. You don't need a full-on professional setup. You can go down the sort of cheaper route if you're just wanting to put base coats and primers down and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave you a link just here, and there'll be one in the description as well, to a website that I'm doing some work with. And I'm making my own Dred effects setups. So you'll get on this website, you're going to get a beginner's setup, an intermediate setup, and then like a pro setup. And there will be like a compressor, a brush, paints and other bits in these kits where you can just go straight up and buy a kit. And I've basically sourced the best bits for these kits. So you're not going to get a cheap rubbish brush and a good compressor and crap paints. You're going to get decent of everything. So you've got a kit that's going to last you your journey, and then you can just swap your brushes over, or if you want to go for the advanced kit you can, the intermediate or the beginner. So that'll be a nice little thing to look at. It saves you going over to Amazon and thinking, oh no, what kit do I need to buy? I'm going to be doing this. Will this kit cater for me? On the website you'll see the kits, but that's going to be up and coming, so keep your eyes out on the website for that. So that's your setup sort of sorted. If you was going individually and buying sort of individually, you don't want to go for a kit because you've probably got your compressor. You're looking at a brush and you think to yourself, what brush do I sort of need for my airbrushing? Do you want a detail brush? Do you want a brush to put loads of paint down? Do you want a trigger style airbrush? Something like that, or a jar fed airbrush siphon feed. Now these brush brands here, these are the ones that are in my cabinet and I've used from day dot, and I will always push. My first port of call will be H&S, and the reason why I say H&S is because I've had them brushes from day dot, from when I very first started, was like the H&S range and coming up, and I've kept with H&S and they're on the shelf, and they've just lasted the testing time. So that's why I always say H&S is a great brush brand to go for. For one, you can interchange the parts. The parts are easy to get hold of and they last. They just last the testing time because I've got the ones on the shelf. The next one will be Iwata because I've got them on the shelf. Badger, Galleria, Mr. Hobby, the Krios range. They're all good. They're all different prices, but they'll all get the job done really well. So they're the brands to look out for when you're looking for a brush, guys. So that covers your brushes. When it comes to paint, this is another one. Paint is like, you can go down the real cheap route and struggle trying to thin these craft paints down. I think if you're coming into airbrushing, just stick to specific airbrush paint that is designed to go through an airbrush, or may need a little bit of thinning, but it is an airbrush paint. Now the ones I'd recommend are the ones on the screen now. We've got Createx Illustration is brilliant paint, it really is. If you're doing your portraits, your photorealistic work where you want to manipulate the paint and erase and do some real cool effects with, Illustration's up there. It's like top of the list, guys, for things like that. You've got Wicked as well. Wicked can be used across the range of doing this sort of stuff, and you can use it for automotive, which is really good. We've got FW inks, which I'm really digging at the minute for all my portrait work. Golden high flow acrylics I've used from day dot. That's what I got taught with, was golden high flow. So I can recommend golden high flow for you for all of your sort of airbrushing needs. Whether you're doing paper, if you're doing automotive, you can use golden. You can use golden on leather, t-shirts, but you'll need the other sort of primers and things if you're going onto leather t-shirts or trainers. But you can use that water-based acrylic, not a problem. If you're into the model painting, again, there's a wide range of paints for the miniature model painters. The link in the description will cover you for all of your paints. They've got all these paints on the website, so nip on over there and have a look at the paints. If you're a model painter, tons of it. You can just look at loads, and we've got the Wicked, we've got the golden on there as well, so you can look at that. So that covers your paint. So that's basically a look at setting up. First and foremost is your workspace. Have a good think about where you're going to do it. Then look at some extractors, look at your setups, look at your paints. If you're going individually, you can buy all these things individually and just sort of work out your prices and get it sort of down to your budget that you want, because you can do this. You can start up airbrushing on a budget. You've not got to spend thousands and thousands just on like a compressor and a brush. You really haven't. You can sort of pick and choose what bits and make up the bits you want and set your studio up to how you want. It's like the studio here, it's took a lot of time to do it. I've saved a lot of money doing it because I've done it myself, because I'm sort of quite good on the tools. So I've not had to have anybody in to come and build it or put windows in and doors in. I've done it all myself. So I've saved a lot of money myself just building this around my existing shed, because that's all it was. So I hope this has helped. Enjoy your journey, that's what it's about. Wherever you're painting, whether you're painting in your house, your garden, shed or a studio, just enjoy it, guys. Thanks for watching. Drop your comments, check out the links in the description, and I'll see you lot in the next one. Cheers.